What's up, Bills fans? We got a lot to get to on today's show, including a James Cook contract dilemma, plus some OTAs news and notes. But we got to catch up to the Bills AFC East faux channel here at Chat Sports. The Jets report, which launched a little before the Bills breakdown, so not exactly a fair fight, but not exactly a long time before either. They're kind of smoking us right now in subscribers. I'm not going to lie. Can we beat them to 10,000? I think that's enough of a runway to catch up here. If you want daily and free Bills content almost every single day, hit that subscribe button. Let's take down the Jets report as we race to 10K. All right, before we get to a couple of nuggets from OTAs, we heard from Joe Brady and a couple others earlier. James Cook. Albert Breer wrote a kind of a piece which covered a few different players, including James Cook. And, maybe dilemma is not the perfect word, but kind of the situation that the Bills find themselves in on whether or not to pay James Cook and where exactly does he fall kind of in the running back pecking order. He's not the best in the league, but do you have to overpay him because he's one of the better running backs? I wanted to get to a couple quotes here from Albert Breer that I'll kind of give my spin on it. He said, that's why the Bills have already tried to get him signed. They had talks earlier in the offseason, and my sense is that the two sides were never really close to finding a common ground, which explains how quiet it's been on the Cook front since that flurry of Buffalo extensions. The challenge here is, and will continue to be, where's the sweet spot for a player at a position that quite simply doesn't seem to have a discernible pay scale at all. He was the best skilled player on the team next to MVP Josh Allen and is ascending at 25 years old. On the other side, it's really hard to value a running back on a new contract, especially if that guy isn't quite on the level of Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, or Saquon Barkley. And I think Breer made a good point in that second quote we flashed of running back is not really like the other positions, at least recently. Like if you're a premium edge rusher or something like that, Myles Garrett's the outlier, but it's like, okay, once you're due, you kind of just top the last guy, right? Well, Saquon and McCaffrey's contracts are kind of in their own tier, and James Cook isn't that player. But if he was this caliber player at another position, he'd probably at least come close to resetting the market. But, are you going to give James Cook $20 million per year? Probably not. I mean, that's not something I would do, and I love James Cook a lot. I do think you need to pay him. You just got to figure out what that number is. He's too valuable to this current Bills offense to let go. And I do use that word current specifically because ever since Joe Brady took over, this has become a more run-heavy offense. They run the ball with Cook. They run the ball with their running backs. Josh Allen obviously runs it some. It's not as kind of wild downfield throwing. Stephon Diggs isn't here anymore. It's quick game, run the football. That's a big part of this offense, and James Cook has become a big part of that, obviously. And again, to Breer's point of there's not really a discernible pay scale, Barkley and McCaffrey, they're kind of in their own pay world, right? Derrick Henry, if he wasn't, on the wrong side of 30, he'd probably be approaching those guys, but he settled for 15 on an extension this offseason. I kind of look at Cook in that range of like Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry. Josh Jacobs is probably a tick underpaid. He got paid after a year in which he didn't have a great season with the Raiders. I would pay Taylor more than I would pay Cook more than Jonathan Taylor. I think that's fair because the cap has gone up. Taylor got paid 2 off seasons ago, $14 million per year. Even if you think they're equal, or even if you think Taylor's slightly better, which I don't necessarily agree with, but even if you did, the cap's gone up twice since he last got paid. So I think they're basically in the same tier. I'd feel comfortable giving James Cook 15 a year, 15 and a half even. Paying him more than Derrick Henry feels odd because I think Henry's a better player, but Cook's also like 7 years younger, right? I think there's different factors that come into this when you're looking at paying a player. And I think he fits the mold of he's a really good player, he's young, he's still ascending, and he's a 3-down back. And that kind of gets shown here when you look at the all-purpose yard leaders when you combine the last 2 seasons. He's number 10. In a few of the guys ahead of him, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, and CeeDee Lamb are receivers. So the rest of that group, and by the way, the gap between him and Breece Hall is 100 yards, right? And I think James Cook has ascended more last year, and Brees Hall, I felt like kind of flatlined a little bit. Like, I would probably take Cook moving forward, although both are good players. But I think James Cook is really valuable for this reason. He's not the best runner in terms of vision, just being hey, give the football out of the backfield 30 times, hand it to him. He's not the best receiving back. He's not Christian McCaffrey or like a Lev Bell type or something like that. But he's top 10 in both. He's one of the 10 best pure runners and one of the 10 best pure receiving backs, and he's probably more like top 7 or 8 in each of those, which makes him a fringe top 5 running back. The only guys I would for sure take ahead of him just for this year, I'm not even talking about long term, which factors in with him because he's only 25, is Christian McCaffrey if he's healthy, Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, and maybe like Bijan Robinson. After that, Cook is right there. I mean, he is in that conversation with Jonathan Taylor. If you're projecting with a guy like Ashton Genty, who we haven't seen play in the NFL yet, I think he's surpassed Kamara, and he's a lot younger, less mileage. So I like him a lot. I think he means a lot to this current Bills offense. You know, early career Josh Allen, who was asked to do everything for Buffalo, maybe you don't pay James Cook $14, $15 million, but they lean on Cook a decent amount now in the run and the pass game. So I just don't think he's a player you could afford to lose. Will the Bills extend James Cook? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I think ultimately they will get a deal done because, again, they're in the business of trying to win the Super Bowl this year. Like, if they didn't feel like they were close, okay, maybe you trade him. Maybe you just play this year out. Maybe you just give him like a 1-year extension. But to me, this is a player that I'm trying to prioritize. Okay, let's get to some news and notes from Bills OTAs as we continue here on the Buffalo Bills breakdown. A couple nuggets I want to dive into. Ray Davis, who obviously is a part of that running back backfield, he seems to be capitalizing on the reps he's getting without James Cook present at OTAs. Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator, said that he's taking another step to his game. Now, could there be some kind of, public negotiating going on? Is it possible that Brandon Beane has told the coaches who talk like, hey, hype up Ray Davis a little bit, hype up these other guys as we're trying to play the contract negotiation game with James Cook? It's certainly possible, but I also think Ray Davis is a guy they like. He's a guy I like coming out of Kentucky. I thought he was solid in his rookie year as a, rotation back, over 400 yards, had 3 touchdowns. Not going to give you a ton in the pass game. Like, that's really where, like, James Cook is just a far better player. But he's certainly a guy who will and should factor in to the running game moving forward. So excited to see him potentially break out here in year 2. Dalton Kincaid sounds like he's trying to add some weight. And I remember when he was coming out of Utah, I was like, yeah, he's kind of wiry, kind of thin. He kind of reminds me this year of like Colston Loveland, who's got the frame. Loveland's taller than Kincaid, but like you could probably put 10, 15 pounds on him. So it sounds like Kincaid's trying to add at least 5, 10 pounds. And Joe Brady said he's been living in the building this offseason. And I loved him coming out. And I think through 2 years he's been solid, but I don't know if he's quite lived up to where he got drafted, right? I mean, his rookie year when he had over 70 catches and almost 700 yards, I'm like, okay, this guy's going to be the next one of the best tight ends in the league. And last year, production went down, targets went down. Part of that was the philosophical shift. They're not throwing the ball quite as much. And one area he did improve at is as a blocker, and I think part of the bulking up is to continue in that regard so he can become that complete player. Because when he was coming out of Utah, I was like, okay, he's an excellent receiving tight end. Can he become a good blocker? He improved that area last year. He's adding more weight. We know he's dynamic with the ball in his hands. Now it's time for it all to come together. Year 3 for the tight end position, a lot of times, that's kind of when things really start to click. So definitely excited to see what he can do this year. And then lastly, Maxwell Hairston is playing fast. That is what the Bills defensive coordinator said here. Jonathan Acosta kind of just aggregating this on Twitter. He said, to quote the Bills DC, he says, there's speed and then there's playing fast. And they're saying that Maxwell Hairston is starting to play fast as he gets more comfortable. Processing slows down. And what he means by that is like, yeah, Maxwell Hairston ran a 4.3 flat at the NFL Combine. Okay, that's great. But football isn't a track meet. It's, can you diagnose? Can you have the fundamentals down? Can you, have good footwork and stay in coverage where you need to be? Because everybody's fast in the NFL, right? Like, if he gets beat on a double move by a guy who runs a 4.52, yeah, he might have a good enough closing speed to catch up, but he might not because it just, once you're beat, you're beat. So I think Hairston is a guy, and, this is my one concern about his coming out is, like, athletic, he's got ball skills, but he gave up a lot of yards at Kentucky. He got beat a decent amount. If he can kind of fine-tune that technique and improve as a pre-snap, diagnostics guy, he's got the frame and the skills to be tremendous. They need him to be good right away. Not a stud. You don't need him to be an all-pro, but they need him to hold his own his rookie year because that was a glaring weakness on this team last year was they just didn't have enough good players in the secondary. So if he's just solid this year, even like up and down early on, but if by the end of the season when you get closer to the playoffs, if this is a guy you can lean on as that second outside corner, that would go a long, long way for the Bills' chances in the postseason. All right, you made it to the end of the video. That makes you a real one. Type me if you are still watching at this very moment. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. We will continue to pump out content here on the Bills Breakdown. Let's take down the Jets report. My name is Harrison Graham. We'll see you guys next time.